One Punch Man, chapter 115. This is what it's all about. Finally, the GOAT is back. I know most of us, and definitely included myself, have been waiting for this moment, and finally we have it. So, other than that, a fantastic chapter as usual. Murata's killing it, keeping up the schedule on these bi-weekly releases as well. I hope it continues. But other than that, let's get into it. So the whole first part of this chapter where we see Puri Prisoner and Garo, this is all new stuff. While Puri Prisoner does meet Garo in the webcomic, we don't really see this whole portion of it, so it's nice to find out what happened with Garo. So this is the first time we have seen him, at least as far as I know, since chapter 92, which was like over a year ago at this point, after he was defeated by Orochi. So apparently, Garo had Garo just locked up afterwards, because we know that Garo didn't want to kill Garo. They had plans for Garo. They want to make Garo their ultimate creation, or their ultimate monster, more or less. Because Garo says that Garo has even greater potential than that of Orochi, and that they just want to mind control or brainwash Garo to become their ultimate puppet. So by chance, Puri Prisoner was able to find Garo in this torture chamber, I guess, but we're also finding out that he's still actively chasing after Neon. That was the last big fight that he was in a few chapters back. Also in that chapter, he discovered a few new abilities, which one of them is allowing him to like swim through the rocks and just make tunnels and stuff like that. But yeah, he still wants to smoke with Neon, and it makes sense considering that, I guess he knows that it's a winnable matchup at this point, considering the stigma that Neon has towards Puri Prisoner, like the weakness that comes with that matchup. Very similar to what we have recently seen with My Mask of Fear Ugly, but like the reverse here. So yeah, just by chance, he finds Garo still chained up, still unconscious in this room. And of course, you know, the hero and the good guy, or more or less the good guy, that Puri Prisoner is, he wants to help Garo because he still appears to be a human at this point. But when he gets up to him, he notices that there's something off about him, and he says that he's seen him on a wanted poster, and that's of course because Garo is the friggin' hero hunter, so it's going to make sense that a hero, especially an S-Class one, is going to be aware of who Garo is, and, you know, the wanted poster and everything. But this, I guess, just wakes up Garo, and he's just like completely feral at this point almost. There's no dialogue from him in this chapter at all. He has no pupils to his eyes, and he just immediately breaks the chain, which makes you wonder, like, the chain was kind of just there for security theater, more or less. I mean, I don't think these chains were going to be able to restrain him regardless of how weak or powerful he was. I think it was just holding him in place while he was unconscious. But also, as soon as he breaks out of it, just immediately, like, 5 pieces Puri Prisoner with a Water Stream Rock Smashing combo. Pretty awesome. But even with Puri Prisoner's new upgraded bristle armor that he developed back in that chapter when he was fighting Neon, that's still not enough, still puts him down to the point of where he can't even stand up. Now, could Garo have done this to Puri Prisoner before his fight with Neon and before Garo's fight with Orochi? Very likely, but considering that Puri Prisoner has developed strides in his power since this point, and we're also seeing the whole armor aspect of him, I think this is also showing that Garo has become stronger himself, because we have to remember that he's very likely going through a Zenkai boost here. You know, like when you survive a near-death encounter, you become stronger as a result of it. It's one of the power mechanics in this world, and we've seen Garo achieve this after his encounter with Royal Ripper, and we just know that Garo just incrementally gets powerful, more so as the story goes on. But I think this is one of his huge leaps in power. Definitely the most significant leap that he has had since he has recovered from his near-death event against Royal Ripper here. But also, it seems like it's changed him. Now, we don't know if he's going to stay in this, what I akin to like a feral-like state, because, you know, this is where it's going to end. When Puri Prisoner's like, this is an extremely dangerous man that I have awakened, and that is definitely true. And in this panel, very cool from Murata, very Miura-like. Miura, the artist of Berserk, which also just coincidentally had a new chapter to itself. It looks just like that. Maybe he was inspired by Miura, but awesome panel nonetheless from Garo here with the blacked out eyes and the savage look on his face. So now that Garo is back, and we also know from Garo that she stated that he was somewhere between human and monster. So as he goes further into his power increases, and now that he's come back from his second confirmed Zenkai boost, or at least in theory it is confirmed, it could mean that Garo is closer to a monster than he has ever been in the series, at least currently right now. So maybe this is why he is acting the way that he is, because he might be slowly losing his humanity, or maybe he has lost it altogether. It remains to be seen, but damn, I'm happy that Garo is back. Can't wait to see more of him. And hey, the savage, the more savage the better with this guy, honestly, because we're also getting that awesome roar panel, which I used for my thumbnail in this video. So cool. I just can't wait to see more developments on this guy. So then it cuts to Saitama, and that's always nice to see what he's up to. And he's still aimlessly wandering around the Monster Association / the Subterranean's original base. And he actually kind of touches on that because he says, first I thought this was just ancient ruins, but it turns out there are newly dug paths. It's like an anthive. So that's showing us that, yeah, this originally did belong to the Subterraneans, which Saitama coincidentally fought both in his dream and in reality, but then it was taken over by the Monster Association, and it seems like they've done some new construction to it. But also, Saitama is still completely oblivious to everything that's going on here, which makes his encounter with Flashy Flash and the exposition and info that he get all the more important, because this is going to be the first time that Saitama is actually aware of what's going on. Like, I think the very first time that he went down into the sewer, at least, was like chapter 94, or maybe it was 93, but it was like he still didn't know. He's just still down here for a simple noise, not a simple one, but just a noise complaint in general. And that's like his motivation going further. He just wants to find out who's causing all of the noise, and he just wants to tell them to knock it off. Even after confronting Orochi, which apparently wasn't a big deal to him. I mean, it is Saitama after all. So then we're finally getting the epic confrontation between Saitama and Flashy Flash, and this was always one of my favorite moments of the webcomic. It's just so cool and funny at the same time, that just awesome sweet spot that one is able to find because he's a genius with this type of stuff. But Flashy Flash thinks that Saitama's a monster, we don't have to hold that against him. And he immediately goes after him with like a super fast attack. It looks like it might be 2 or 3 slashes in one sequence. But of course, Saitama just effortlessly dodges this. We also saw him do the same thing to Hellfire and Gale a few chapters back when they encountered him. And I just love this sequence so much. It's just so funny, like I said, because as soon as Flashy Flash turns around, Saitama's just in his face like, huh? And he's just shocked by this, and then he goes into his eternal monologue, trying to remember, like, oh, you're that dude from the meeting. Because that's also, like, the only time that most of the S-Class heroes have really had some time with Saitama. Outside of the main cast that we have, was back at that original meeting that Sitch had called together for the prophecy of Shibawa. And, of course, Saitama was there because he was just an accessory to Genos. So it makes sense that Flashy Flash would at least recognize Saitama at this point. But just the whole inner monologue that he's having here, and while it's like he's looking at Saitama, but he's not saying anything, but Saitama is like, hey, why are you talking? And then he starts getting annoyed. And in the panel where he says, I'll beat you up, which is hilarious, Flash says something very interesting. He says, plus this mysterious pressure of his, my instincts tell me there's something abnormal with him. So I think this is showing us that Flashy Flash is kind of feeling the same thing that previous characters like Carnage Kabuto, Boros, and recently Orochi have also felt about Saitama. Like, they're not oblivious to this guy. Well, Flash kind of is, but he's like more so in denial, and he's also has like this narcissistic aspect to him, but still, he can't deny that there's something freakish about Saitama, and I guess it just goes to show that, like, ultra powerful characters, which clearly Flashy Flash has proven to be, at least at this point in the manga, are able to sense something different about Saitama, more so than the other characters who kind of just aren't aware of what's going on with Saitama until he displays his power. But foolishly, he tries to use the Flashy Slash on Saitama, and of course this does nothing to him, and he just casually catches the blade in between like his index finger and his thumb. This plays out just like it does in the webcomic. So awesome, and especially the way that Murata has adapted it. But then, once Saitama is about to almost counterattack him, Flash says, no, wait, do I look like a monster? Wait, I'm the S-Class hero, Flashy Flash. And then they have their whole back and forth. And then Flashy Flash does something very important here. Like I said earlier, he is catching Saitama up what is actually going on in the storyline here. So Saitama doesn't need to be oblivious to what is actually going on with this arc anymore, and he could be more integrated into it and play a better part than just, I don't know what's going on. I also like that Flashy Flash is kind of confirming that he did take out 2 dragon level guys in Hellfire and Gale, because he's like, I even came across opponents who are comparable to level dragon. I think that's pretty cool there. But then we're also finding out that no one really knows that Orochi has gone down, except Garo and kind of Tatsumaki at this point. So the heroes are still wary that Orochi is out there, because they know that he's no joke. And as confident and sometimes deluded the S-Class heroes could be, they're still taking effort with approaching the Monster King Orochi. But, you know, of course, we saw Saitama take him out. But even Saitama doesn't even know that he took him out. To Saitama, Orochi was just like, I guess, an above-average type of monster. He didn't even see him as the king, which he also didn't know Orochi's moniker at that time. I don't even think they exchanged names or anything like that. They kind of just went at it. But now that Saitama has motivation to go further, he's reinvigorated. Because before, he was just down here for, like, going after that noise complaint. But now that he's hyped up from finding out about the quote-unquote Monster King, it entices him. He's like, oh, that sounds strong. This might actually give me the challenge that I've been looking for. So now he wants to tag along with Flashy Flash, because he also knows that if he does, he's going to find something, you know, worthwhile. Even if it's not the Monster King, he's just going to, you know, keep going after more monsters and whatnot, which, you know, is still something that Saitama wants to do, regardless of how exciting it is to him. So then Flashy Flash begrudgingly accepts Saitama's companionship, and he's like, okay, I'll just get rid of him if I pick up my pace. And he just, you know, does the classic Flashy Flash sprint that we also saw like a very similar type of frame when we first saw Flashy Flash in action, back when he met up with the A and B class heroes like Death Gatling, Butterfly DX, Smile Man, and then when they were taking on 100 Eyes Octopus. After he, like, talked to them, he did a very similar sprint that left, like, a bunch of shockwaves or whatever in their wake, and he's doing the same thing to Saitama, but this is Saitama, and we see that he's easily able to keep up with Flashy Flash. It's like, yeah, let's go, and of course, this shocks Flashy Flash, but fantastic chapter. Really love this one so much, and I'm glad, so glad, did I tell you guys that I'm glad that Garo's back, and I can't wait to see what happens with him. But yeah, let me know what you thought about this one. Where do you see Saitama and Flashy Flash's story headed? Where do you see Garo headed? So many possibilities for him. And I know you guys who have read the webcomic know what's going to happen with him, but there could be some deviations. There could be new things that happen with him, like this chapter is proof of that. So let me know what you thought about this one. If you liked it, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a weekly Q&A, and if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.